One of the most mysterious, but certainly one of the most controversial structures in the United States was the Georgia Guidestones. Also known as America's Stonehenge, it was not visited by thousands of tourists, nor by cuddling young couples posing for photographs at its base. It was rather a place for mysteries and conspiracy theorists. All the stones of the Georgia Guidestones were secrets, and the instructions were interpreted differently by everyone. But one thing is certain: anyone who has ever heard of them, read the lines carved into the stones, will never forget their content. The stones carried both physical and spiritual guidance, but not necessarily for us, the people of today. The lines rather seemed to were written for the survivors of an upcoming apocalypse. The memorial stood 145 kilometers east of Atlanta, 15 kilometers from the town of Elberton, with just a few thousand inhabitants, on a nearly barren field off the Georgia highway. The stones also could be seen from the road, with a lane leading from the highway to the base of the structure. The stones weighed more than 20 tons each and rose almost 6 meters above the ground. At first glance, the monument was reminiscent of Stonehenge, the ancient Druidic cult site in England, and for good reason. The structure, which consists of 4 granite blocks and a cover slab, was oriented to reflect the sky, as at Stonehenge. Through the precisely positioned slots, the sun's rays pointed to the given date each noon, and their orientation also allowed the equinoxes and solstices to be tracked, as well as the location of the North Star in the sky through the vaulted aperture. Next to the huge stones was a granite stone sunk into the ground, on which were various data and explanations about the stones and their location. This stone also indicated that a time capsule was placed in the ground, but neither the date of its placement nor the date of its opening was given. June 1979, Elbert County, Georgia. On a Friday, an elegant gentleman with graying hair entered the office of the Elberton Granite Finishing Company looking for the company's president, Joe H. Fendley. During the strange introduction, the mysterious man introduced himself as Robert C. Christian, but immediately indicated that this was not his real name, as he wished to keep it a secret. He said, in his words, that he represents a small, loyal group of Americans who want to see a specifically monumental structure erected in the Elberton area. According to him, they chose this small Georgian town because it has some of the most beautiful granite rocks, nice weather, and is far enough from the tourist attractions, and he personally has a great-great-grandmother from the area. Mr. Christian explained to Mr. Fendley that he wanted to order specially carved granite stones that could survive any earth disaster. The granite blocks should be engraved with inscriptions in the 8 languages of the world that will guide the survivors of the apocalypse in building and managing the new world. Mr. Fendley said in a statement on a TV program shortly after the building was handed over,
"I thought I'd lost my mind, or, if not mine, the old man's. I was thinking about how to shake him off. I told him the multiples of the real price after all. It's a huge job that requires a lot of work, experts and special tools." But he nodded silently and asked when the work could start and when would it be ready. I must admit, I was worried about the money issue, so I decided to send him to the president of Granite City Bank.
Bank President Wyatt C. Martin was the second and last person to meet Robert C. Christian in person in Elberton until his death in late 2021. The old man, over 80 years old, recalled,
"Fendley called me and said, 'There's a strange man here who wants to set up a crazy monument. I'll send him over to you for money.' When the gentleman appeared in his expensive suit with his elegant speech, I knew immediately that his intentions were serious and that I was talking to an educated man. However, when he told me that he was using a pseudonym, I was put off again. He said that the group of which he is a member has been planning this monument for more than 20 years, and now the time has come to complete it. This monument is not only a group of granite stones, but also a guide, a calendar, a clock, and a compass. I immediately told him that he could throw his money out the window with that power, but he just looked serious and said, 'You don't understand.' I then took him to the town square and showed him our monument commemorating the bicentenary of the founding of the town, indicating that it was the largest granite stone monument we had ever made. He did not see any problem with this and indicated that he would return on Monday, renting a plane to find a suitable place for the building from above. Well, then I started to take him seriously. He came back on Monday, and I told him once again that he could not place an order under an alias, as we had no guarantee that the huge fee would ever arrive. Mr. Christian then promised to reveal his name, but it must never be made public, and no living person can know who is behind the construction. I had to put it in right, and I swore to destroy the documents after the building was finished. Mr. Christian also said that the money will come from different banks so that it cannot be traced.
Before Mr. Christian left the town, he visited Granite Master Fendley once more with a shoebox. It included a wooden replica of the monument and several pages of mathematical and astrological instructions on how to build it. After Fendley had accepted these, and a phone call had been received from the bank president Martin about the $10,000 deposit, Mr. Christian politely thanked him for his cooperation and said goodbye. "You will never see me again," he said, and left without shaking hands.
Indeed, we never saw him again in Elberton. Sometimes he would write inquiring about land purchases, construction, but never a letter from the same town,
said Fendley. The mysterious man finally purchased the land from its owner of that time, the Wayne Mullenix farm, on October 1st, 1979, after which the work began on the granite plant. Even before it was completed, the memorial caused a huge stir in the small town, with residents saying that Fendley and Martin were colluding and working for their own pockets. The case became so serious that the two men agreed to go to the police for a lie detector test, which they did, and both were found to be telling the truth. Fendley's friends, and even the local pastor, accused the craftsman of making a deal with the devil and making his work at such great expense. But before we go any further, I'd like to ask you to subscribe to my channel and press the bell to be notified of my future uploads. Thank you very much. Meanwhile, the monoliths were under construction, and after 5.5 months of hard work, all the elements of the monument were completed and placed with the correct orientation. The astrological orientation of the stones was so difficult that Fendley had to ask for help from astronomers of the University of Georgia. The 4 outer stones had to be oriented to follow the annual movement of the sun. The middle stone had to be oriented according to several criteria. It had to have a hole cut in it through which the North Star would be permanently visible, as well as a slot through which the sunrise could be followed at the solstice and equinox. And a 7/8 gap had to be left in the capstone so the sunlight could pass through it at noon and illuminate the central stone, thus allowing the days of the year to be red. The main feature of the monument, however, was the series of sentences in 8 languages: English, Spanish, Russian, Chinese, Arabic, Hebrew, Hindi, and Swahili, inscribed on each side of the 4 outer stones. The top of the stones were inscribed in 4 languages: Egyptian hieroglyphics, Classical Greek, Sanskrit, and Babylonian cuneiform.
Let these be guidestones to an age of reason.
The landmarks were unveiled 44 years ago, on the 22nd of March 1980, in the presence of an audience of 100, or nearly 400 according to other sources. Soon, the first tourist groups from Japan and China arrived. Elberton was put on the world map, but the first visitors were horrified to read the instructions on the stones. Let's see, what are these instructions?
Maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature.
Even then, in the early 1980s, there were already 4.5 billion people living on Earth, so speculation began about the controlled depopulation of the New World Order, and the stones contained further instructions to that effect. Will they use deliberately spread and/or controlled epidemics to try to reach the population numbers written on the stone tablets?
Guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity.
It wasn't too difficult to draw parallels with Nazi views, so tempers soon flared and the monument's message became a regular topic on television.
Unite humanity with a living new language.
Is the third commandment, which immediately sounded the alarm bell for the believers of the world. The book of Revelation already said to beware of a common language, of unified control, as they strengthen the Antichrist. Let's see, what are the further instructions?
Rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason. Protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. Let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court. Avoid petty laws and useless officials. Balance personal rights with social duties. Prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite. Be not a cancer on the earth. Leave room for nature. Leave room for nature.
The concerns of the local pastor were soon confirmed. Immediately after the monument was handed over, a group of 13 witches from Atlanta immediately adopted the Georgia Stones as their new, distant home and made pilgrimages here on weekends. According to the townspeople, there was all manner of ungodly things: dancing and singing, witchcraft and magic fires, and a lot of chickens losing their heads. Then the Georgia Guidestones were not talked about for many years. Then since 2008, there has been a renewed interest in the stones, when anti-globalists vandalized them, spray painting various anti-globalization slogans onto them. Since then, the town of Elberton has conducted video surveillance around the monument. Adding to the mystery was a cornerstone placed some years ago, with the numbers 20 and 14 engraved on its visible sides. This small cube was stolen and taken home by an Alabama man, William Jeremy, in 2009. Thanks to surveillance cameras, he was quickly caught and the cube was recovered. It was then discovered that there was an engraving on each side of the cornerstone, so it wasn't just the numbers 20 and 14. The numbers 8 and 16, and the words MM and Jam were also written on the other sides of the cube. The placement of the cornerstone in the upper right corner of the English inscription plaque may have been planned in advance, as its location is shown in the earlier pictures. What the letters and numbers meant is also not known, but they were probably put there so that somebody could decipher them. Theories about the stones are endless. There are many books, journals, and articles on the possible explanations. The best known of these is the book by Mark Dice, a conspiracy theorist who believes that the stones are the commandments of the New World Order, the elite who will survive the apocalypse, as they will have perfectly equipped hidden bunkers under the ground, ready for any eventuality when the apocalypse occurs. According to Dice, Mr. Christian was a member of this satanic community, and it was precisely because of this deception that he chose his pseudonym, like the Antichrist. Mr. Martin, the bank's chief executive, told reporters interviewing him in his last statement in 2009,
Mr. Christian has never seemed like a depraved, satanic man. But when I read these books, I feel I should tell you what I know. But I won't, because I made a promise. The only thing I haven't done is not to destroy the documents, but I won't show them to anyone. Sometimes I think I should write a book myself, but then I give up, because I remember Mr. Christian said, "Who I am and where I came from must remain a secret." That's how mysteries work. If you want people to be interested, you don't have to tell them everything.
Strange to think about that while the whole world was guessing, this old man was the only one on earth who knew the secret, or at least Mr. Christian's real name. Wyatt C. Martin died on December 15, 2021, taking the secret with him, and the memorial was blown up by unknown perpetrators on July 6, 2022, the following summer. One of the 4 granite slabs completely collapsed, and security cameras captured the incident. The remains of the monument were then completely dismantled, and it was officially claimed that no time capsule of any kind was found underground. Since then, the perpetrators have not been identified, and the Wayne Mullenix Construction has stated that there are no plans to rebuild and re-erect the monument. Although the Georgia Guidestones are a thing of the past, the monument has lost none of its mystique, and perhaps events in the world, such as the emergence of the coronavirus, have brought the instructions on it, such as the phrase to maintain the world's population level, to the fore even more. Well, whether we, the people of the present, will live to see the age when we will really need the instructions on the stones is not known, but it might be a good thing if we won't. And we can only guess which American group commissioned the monument, perhaps the Illuminati, the Bilderberg Group, Skull and Bones, or some other secret Masonic society. Well, we will probably never know the answer. Please write in the comments what you think about what you heard, like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't, subscribe to my channel and press the bell to make sure you won't miss the next interesting topic. Check out my previous videos because I'm sure you'll find something of interest to you. Thanks for your attention. I will be back soon with the next video.